Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Lizardmen led by Jabba the Hutt and the Greenskins who are going to be led by Dr. Doom and Darkness. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in our makeshift front line, we do have a couple groups of the skink cohorts with javelins. I think in total we do have 3 groups. We're going to be doing a bit of a kite/skirmish build. So these guys are going to be in the front line. We're going to use their poison javelins to try and slow down the green tide because again, I didn't want to use like a front line of Saurus and Temple Guards and things like that because with the new global WA ability available to the Greenskin, so of course the WA ability for any of you guys that haven't been watching the past couple weeks is now a global ability. So when Azak does pop his WA, it's going to hit everyone. And I found that it's very tough to fight the Greenskins in the front line in a very traditional matchup. I mean, yes, Saurus are pretty strong. They have relatively low melee attack and melee defense, but their weapon strength is very high. So they can hit hard against the Greenskins, but fighting them straight up with the new WA ability is just, it's really tough. As such, we do have a couple skink cohorts in the front. We're going to javelin them down, kite them back, and try and wear them down a little bit, hopefully kind of dragging out the WA ability. On top of that, we do have the Feral Bastillodons. We have 2 groups of these, and I was playing this game and I looked at their costs. I was like, damn, they're really cheap. And they actually got changed in the most recent patch. So they now only cost like 650. So I think they used to cost 800. So pretty substantial price reduction on those guys. And they're actually really good against Black Orcs and even against Biggins. Because yes, Biggins have anti-large, but they don't really have the best AP. And these guys are heavily armored. They're rocking a whopping 140. So we have 2 of those. We're going to be charging them into Black Orcs and Biggins and just hopefully, my opponent will blob up around the Feral Bastillodons and then Jabba the Hutt can get like a Banishment or Ruination of Cities. On top of that, we got 2 laser dinos here. You can see they're already wrecking shop here on these Biggins. So one group here, or not group, but one Bastillodon with the solar engine here, one up on the high ground. 2 groups of the Cold One Spear Riders to defend my flanks against Orc Boy Biggins and just cycle charge and apply pressure. We do have the Rev Crystal. We got Gary back here, and he's ready to party. He's going to be healing up some of the boys. And then we also have one group of Temple Guards. So just in case everything in the front line fell apart, I wanted to at least have one elite infantry group that I could, hide Jabba the Hutt on if things go really south. So that's pretty much it for my army. Definitely a pretty fun build here. We have the 2 Pterodon Riders with the Fire Leech Bolas who actually do a ton of damage against light armor. So Biggins do have 50 armor, Savage Orcs, Goblins, they can go after all kinds of stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for my build. For my opponent, he's got a pretty solid build. He's got Black Orcs, he's got Biggins, he's got some Savage Orc Biggins in the back to, with their anti-large bonus to drag down some of the dinosaurs. He's got Dr. Doom and Darkness, who's really good, Spirit Leech, and it looks like Soulblight. So he's probably going to be casting Soulblight on some of my dinosaurs to make his Biggins and Savage Orcs a little bit more effective. But, as a standalone character, this guy's really good against big dinos. He has 50 melee attack, 480 weapon strength with a heavy AP. So if he's able to isolate a Bastillodon, he can take them down very quickly. Black Orcs, he's got the Rusty Arrows in the back. He's got 2 groups of Orc Boy Biggins to get his anti-large AP. It looks like he does also have the Morgub's Maging Marauders over here on the far side, and that is pretty much it. So without further ado, let's get this game underway. So immediately, you can see that these Biggins are going to be charging in, and now they're going to get Last Samurai. So the lasers are coming in, the javelins from the skinks are coming in as well from both of these groups. So a lot of these Biggins are going to go down, and they're probably going to tuck and run, I would imagine. And now you can see that the laser dino is going to be shooting at the Black Orcs, which is definitely a good target. So as soon as he gets close, I decide to kite back, trying to draw out this fight as much as I can, pick off all these targets. And you can see that Jabba is going to drop a Nets of Amnitok right here to try and buy some more time for my Bastillodons with the solar engines. In the meantime, I am pulling back with my my Rider Lizards, the Cold One Spear Riders here, because he did have the 2 Orc Boy Biggins kind of pressuring my flank, so I wanted to pull back, and if I'm going to have to fight a 2v1, I at least wanted to have some reinforcements nearby, have these Pterodon Riders, have some healing and other stuff like that. So in the meantime, my other group of Cold One Spear Riders is going to be chasing down his Morgub's Maging Marauders, so that was a bit of a mistake. I got a little bit bloodthirsty there. But it looks like the Goblins are going to catch my Skinks, which is a little bit unfortunate, and the Warlord's boys should definitely win this engagement. Black Orcs are continuing to advance, but they are taking quite a bit of fire. The Pterodon Riders, however, are taking heavy Overwatch fire from these Rusty Airs back here. So they do have stock, so I didn't see them, and I wasn't really paying attention in that respect, but still getting a ton of good damage on these Savage Orc Biggins. You can see the Fire Leech Bowls are definitely dropping some hot fire there. And now it is time. The Bastillodons have engaged with Jabba the Hutt, so look at him. He's so glorious, just up there roaring. But the Bastillodons have engaged with the Black Orcs. And yes, Black Orcs do have good AP, but these Bastillodons have pretty high mass, and they're tough to lock down. You can see the Feral Bastillodons rocking about 6,000 HP as well, pretty close to that, and hopefully they can get some kills on this front line here. In the meantime, the Rev Crystal is also going to be engaging, and you can see I did pull back with the Cold One Spear Riders, and the Biggins, if I'm not mistaken, do come in here in just a moment, and I have to unfortunately fight them. But the Laser Dino is still shooting into Black Orcs. They don't have like heavy AP. You can see that they do have the blind ability, but they don't have like heavy armor piercing, but still they have enough damage to kind of pick off a couple of Black Orcs. But now this is the fight of fights. Jabba the Hutt has popped the Shield of the Old Ones to kind of buff the leadership of these feral beasts, which do route somewhat easy. there's a Soul Blight for my opponent. So the Soul Blight's definitely going to hurt, lower their armor, as well as some of their damage. Yeah, they're 25% on the weapon damage, but they're still at 110, which is really good. And there's a banishment from Jabba the Hutt, so exactly what I wanted. I wanted my opponent to kind of bunch up around the dinosaurs. And oh, look at the lasers coming in and just blasting those savage orcs. Just sheer brutality as these orcs are just torn asunder by this massive banishment right here. And that was just brutal. Just tore apart those savage orcs who immediately get terrified. And these are expensive savage orc biggins. They're not like low tier savage orcs. The biggins here, the black orcs are getting punished by that, as well as the Bastillodon damage. And, you know, I feel like these Bastillodons are going to be quite a bit more common with them being getting that nice cost reduction. One of my Fire Leech Bullets, unfortunately, is chased off here by Azag the Slaughter, so he's going to be chasing those guys off the battlefield. The other one's doing okay. Now the Temple Guard have been pulled from reserve, and they're going to leap in and fight against some of these biggins. So definitely going to favor the Temple Guard with their armor, and they have pretty good combat stats. Also, you can see there's some Overwatch from the Laser Dino there. Looks like it's going to pick off a couple of those orcs, which is always nice. On this flank, my opponent certainly has the advantage. He does have the two groups of Orc Boar Boy Biggins who just overwhelms my Cold One Spear Rider, so there is going to be a collapse here, and these guys could potentially come in here and do some heavy lifting. On the far side, it looks like those Goblins are still fighting those Skinks, so those Skinks putting up a great fight. Always a little bit tragic seeing them go down. I actually just watched Jurassic World last night, and there's a lot of sad scenes in that with dinosaurs, but the Skink cohorts here are going to be fighting tooth and nail against the Goblins, doing their people proud, and looks like they unfortunately didn't get to use their ammo because the Goblins chased them a little bit too quickly. But the Bastillodons with the Solar Engines are just reforming ranks right now, so I'm getting them up on the high ground here. But Azag is lurking nearby, and he does have that really good AP, but Jabba the Hutt is also just fresh fish. I don't know, he's fresh toad, whatever you guys want to say. So the fresh fish is on the line, and you can see that Azag is going to swoop in, try and Spirit Leech him, and just goon him out. But I do use Harmonic Convergence, which turns him from a fat, lazy toad to a pretty decent combatant with 52 and 59 with his respective combat stats. So he's going to be able to hold for some time. The Temple Guard, realizing that Mazdamundi is under threat, are going to be bum rushing, so you can see the Temple Guard coming in to protect their lord here. But another Soul Blight going down, which is, again, going to put him to 15 armor. Definitely very low on that end. But the Bastillodon's not taking a whole lot of damage. I'm very, very happy with their performance this game. You can see that Gary right here is putting up a great fight. There's some Fire Leech Bullets coming down, and the Feral Bastillodons have really, really just been solid. They haven't done, like, a ton of, like, killed a ton of models, but the fact that they're just always there causing terror and just... It's kind of nice when they rampage, just from like a lazy perspective. Like I'm just like, all right, they're doing their job. I can just forget them now. But we are able to break off those Orc Boar Boy Biggins with our Cold One Riders being assisted by the Feral Bastillodons. In the main fight, though, it's a little bit dicey. Mazdamundi is being attacked by some Black Orcs, and Azag is also cycle charging, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like Azag did go up here to deal with the Laser Lizards, but you can see he hits pretty hard, but these guys aren't going down quietly. You can see they're going to be throwing some spears, and a Global Wa is going to be going down right now. So all of his troops are going to be getting some good melee attack, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the second one here in the game. But I do have some Cold One Spear Riders left who are going to be chasing him, hopefully freeing up my Laser Dinos who can start shooting. But it looks like there are going to be some Black Orcs and other troops coming here, so let's see if we can get some point blank laser action. Come on, do it. Oh, and it looks like he missed. That guy just wound up and just decided not to shoot. I don't know if he got obstructed, but the two Feral Bastillodons, the Brothers Grimm, are charging up the hill, and they're just going to run over these Black Orcs, and you can see these Black Orcs want none of that as the Feral Bastillodons and the Skinks pile on. So I love watching Bastillodons charge. It's got to be like one of my favorite things in the entire game. But this Bastillodon's fighting in here, doing a good job. You can see that Mazdamundi has been getting Spirit Leeched, but with the Shield of the Old Ones, negating a lot of that damage, 44% to be precise. I wonder if he has any base magic resist. I think he does, but on top of that, he does have Apotheosis to kind of heal himself up. So you can see that the Dinos and the Toad Lords are doing a pretty good job fending him off. And the last of the Temple Guard, and Temple Guard are one of those units that just fight to the bitter end. Like, yeah, despite what their leadership tells you, they are just always fighting until they have like 5 or 6 models left. They are just a very, very tough unit. You can see they're rocking 59 leadership when they're at like 1500 HP here. So definitely some really, really good stuff from those guys. But the Temple Guard fighting, able to finish off some of those Black Orcs. And you can see that, up here, Azag is trying his best, but the Cold One Spear Rider's coming in, and he just couldn't do enough damage to these Bastillodons. They were able to just fight, and you can see he actually gets surrounded, and he's just being prison shanked by the Jurassic Park here. And the Feral Bastillodon comes in, and that is going to be army losses for my opponent. So well played. I really like that build. I felt like it was brutal against the Greenskins. Like, he had a solid build. Black Orcs are fine, pretty good against, they pound Source, but they didn't really have, like, getting a square engagement. They kept, like, trying to chase, but every time they fought, it was against, like, a large monster, or it was against, like, being kited by skinks or being blasted by the Solar Engines. But the two Solar Engines tear apart Biggins and Savage Orcs and that kind of stuff. And the Feral Bastillodons did such a good job against the Black Orcs. It did a ton of HP damage, and also on top of that, having the one Temple Guard is pretty solid. But it was cool because it kind of forced the Greenskins into a very non-traditional engagement, because what you want when you're a Greenskins player, you just want like a heavy front line of like Black Orcs and Biggins and whatever else you might have to just engage. You pop the wand, you just sit and cackle and just, enjoy yourself. But if you kind of force them into a bit of a strange situation like you do with the Solar Engines here and with Jabba the Hutt, I feel like that's definitely going to be a little bit more to your advantage. And Jabba's really good. That banishment was probably one of the biggest factors as to why the game changed, because he did have like Black Orcs, his Savage Orc Biggins, and a group of Biggins there, all of whom got brought from like 50-60% down to like 10%, just like routed. That was pretty brutal, but we did a ton of damage on the approach. I really like the Pterodon Riders. Had I been a little bit less sloppy with the Pterodon Riders, I think they could have been more impactful. They still did good HP damage, but I should have been using them to harass the Rusty Airs in the back line and just kind of float a little bit. And with their speed, I could have easily avoided the Rusty Air firepower. So that was one of the bigger mistakes I made that game. But regardless, I really like the fact that the Feral Bastiladons are quite a bit cheaper now. I think they're 150 cheaper than they were. I'm going to use them in a bunch of matches. I'm going to try them in Chaos, just mix them in with like Saurus, whatever. Like they seem to be a pretty nice little supplement to the front line that causes terror. So you're getting like a terror sick that actually is pretty powerful for 650, which is great. And for my opponent's army, I think Azag's good. I mean, he's probably the second best lord for the Greenskins. I think by far the best lord is going to be Warzog, because Warzog is going to have his Bonewood staff. So every time he casts, it just buffs your whole army, which is insane when you stack that with the Wa. So Warzog's definitely the best lord. This guy's a good choice against Lizardmen too, though. Spirit Leech plus heavy AP is good against dinosaurs. Biggins are a decent choice. I'm not a huge fan. I do like the Black Orc picks. Savage Orc Biggins, like they have anti-large, but I find that they lack the AP to really tear through Feral Bastiladons. But, had I gone with like a very heavy Saurus front line, I think I would have just gotten taken to Pound Town by this like front line of his. But yeah, it was a solid army. I mean, it had most of the tools it needed. But I think just the banishment and some of the positioning, maybe the Orc Board by Biggin should have been split up. Instead of like trying to 2v1 my Lizard Riders over there, maybe just like split one around, have that go after the Solar Engines. Just a few kind of things like that would have been good. They're very well played. My opponent, Man TA1. Look forward to running into again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Jabba game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.